been telling you a little bit about some of the illnesses that our children suffer from. Today I'd like to mention a particular threat to a child's life. It's called hookworm or ankylostom. Now, it's a little worm that lives in the soil, and a child goes along with no shoes, no flip-flops, no sandals. And this little worm will then wriggle up through the skin and into the blood system. It travels up to the heart, and the heart pumps it out to the lungs. The worms are left in the mucus inside the lungs, and we cough a little bit, and then we swallow the phlegm back down, and it goes into the stomach. Passing through the stomach, and they attach themselves inside the small intestine. And when they're doing that, they're living from the blood of the host, that's the little child. They start to lay eggs, and little worms start to emerge, and they pass out through the diarrhoea of the child. And then if the child is now also going to the toilet just on the ground or on the grass, eventually it gets back into the soil. Till another child comes along, and the worm will then pass up through the skin of that child, and the circle continues. So the child suffers from anemia, they suffer from dehydration because of diarrhea, and they cannot absorb their food. So this brings on severe malnutrition. Yet the treatment is very simple. It's a very inexpensive treatment. We can give that 1 tablet for 3 days. Actually, 1 day probably does the trick. And the child will then need iron, they need feeding properly, and they need antibiotics for any secondary infections which have entered the system during their illness. Thank you.